Breaking news right now on Pawn Stars. Chumlee, whose real name is Austin Lee Russell. We've just learned the terms of a plea deal that'll keep him from serving prison time. Rick Harrison's world is crumbling before our eyes. His son's sentenced to life. Chumlee tangled in a prison nightmare, in a bitter family war threatening to destroy everything he built. The Pawn Stars empire, once unstoppable, now teeters on the edge of ruin. Tune in as the truth behind Rick's downfall is revealed, and what comes next will shock everyone. The fall of a Vegas dynasty. Rick Harrison, now 59 years old, is drowning in a relentless storm of family disasters and legal fights. What started as whispers about his son receiving a life sentence turned into a grim reality. The Pawn Stars empire, once a money-printing machine, is looking shakier by the day. Just when it seems like things cannot possibly get worse, they do. And in the shadows of a collapsing dynasty, a betrayal emerges that will change everything forever. Pawn Stars was not some lucky break. It was built from scratch by Rick and his father Richard, who was as tough as they came. He understood money, business, and did not tolerate nonsense. Fans respected his straightforward, no-filter approach. When Richard passed away in 2018, the shop lost more than just its founder. It lost its backbone. A lot of people like the history lessons. There's a lot of different aspects to it. A lot of people like the family interaction. Kids love Chumlee. Rick did everything he could to keep things rolling, but trouble was already waiting in the wings, poised to strike. Running a pawn shop in Las Vegas was never glamorous. Late payments, slim margins, and customers bringing in more headaches than valuable goods made for a daily grind. But Rick had a winning formula: storytelling. He knew that people were not just buying objects. They were buying history, a connection to something bigger. That is what made Pawn Stars a success. The rare, weird items and the even wilder backstories attached to them. Then came the television show in 2009. No one saw it coming, but overnight Rick, his son Corey, and their longtime friend Chumlee became household names. From pirate swords to ancient coins, people loved watching them strike deals. Corey's sharp tongue, Chumlee's goofy antics, and Rick's ability to haggle made the show an instant hit. But fame has a way of twisting things up. Lawsuits stacked up, family feuds exploded, and the behind-the-scenes chaos became impossible to ignore. By 2022, the problems could not be hidden anymore. Rick's own mother, Joanne, dragged him to court over ownership of the shop. She claimed he had tricked her into signing over her share while she was recovering from a coma. He insisted she knew exactly what she was doing. The lawsuit demanded a full accounting of more than $500,000 and even requested a restraining order to keep him from selling off shop assets. Toy Expo? It's an exciting event. It's been jam-packed from day one. So we're day two in this. I picked up half a truckload of toys yesterday. As if that was not bad enough, the pandemic hit their business like a freight train. Once raking in millions, the shop barely made $37,000 in an entire year. And then there was Chumlee. On screen, he was the lovable clown. Off screen, he was a magnet for trouble. In 2016, his house was raided during a criminal investigation. The sexual assault charges against him did not stick, but the police found enough drugs and unregistered firearms to charge him with multiple felonies. He managed to dodge prison with a plea deal, but his reputation was permanently wrecked. Fans were stunned, and the show took a heavy hit. Corey was not staying out of trouble either. Known for his reckless streak, he got into bar fights and messy legal situations. In 2020, he rented a recreational vehicle for a desert trip, wrecked it, and allegedly refused to pay for damages. The owner claimed he left the vehicle trashed, littered with empty bottles and garbage. It was yet another public embarrassment for the Harrison family. Even the so-called experts featured on the show were not immune to scandal. Johnny Jimenez Jr., a frequent toy expert, was charged in a domestic violence case. Then there was Drew Max, the sports memorabilia guru, who got caught up in a fraud scandal. He allegedly authenticated fake collectibles, leading to lawsuits and a serious credibility crisis for the show. As the years passed, fans began noticing something was off. Pawn Stars had lost its magic. The The once spontaneous moments felt staged, the negotiations seemed rehearsed, and personal drama overshadowed the history and the deals. What was once an entertaining dive into historical artifacts had turned into a slow-motion car wreck of family betrayals and scandals. Rick tried to expand his empire with Pawn Plaza, a retail complex near the shop, but that venture tanked. The businesses inside blamed him for failing to promote the area properly. Lawsuits followed, and yet another ambitious plan went up in smoke. Meanwhile, the show limped along, but even the most die-hard fans admitted it was not what it used to be. The once thriving empire was fading, slipping through Rick's fingers one misstep at a time. Despite everything, Rick knew one thing for certain: the show would not last forever. He scrambled to secure other investments, real estate, different business ventures, anything to keep his fortune intact. The shop had seen it all: big dreams, tough losses, and surprising wins. But the next sellers brought a whole new game: cash, collectibles, and cold-blooded deals. A guy struts in all confident, holding what looks like a 10B British note. But oh no, it's not just any bill. It's been defaced by the infamous street artist Banksy. The seller thinks he's got himself a jackpot. Old man takes one look at it, unimpressed. Counterfeit money is what he sees, and he isn't wrong. But the guy insists Banksy's work sells for thousands. The old man isn't having it. To him, it's just vandalized cash. They bring in an expert. Turns out it is real Banksy art, but not exactly a rare find, value maybe a few $100. The seller, once dreaming of a grand payday, tries to salvage what he can. He aims for $500. The old man? Not a chance. A brutal negotiation later, and the guy walks away with $400. He might have expected more, but old man knew exactly what he was doing. Now here's a piece of history. A Navy veteran walks in carrying an old sextant once used on the United States ship Hector, a World War II-era repair ship. The guy's got stories, and the old man loves military history, so there's some common ground. But let's get real. This isn't the 1800s and nobody is navigating by sextant anymore. The seller wants nearly $400. The old man, wise as ever, knows collectors exist, but they're a rare breed. He lowballs it to $200. The seller tries to fight back, but negotiations are tough when you're facing a seasoned pawn expert. But at $390, I'm not comfortable. I will be comfortable at $200 for this. That way I can ask three. Take the first 275 walks through the door. They settle at $265. Not bad, but definitely not the big payday the seller was dreaming of. An old black and white panoramic photo of a World War II airfield in Las Vegas sounds cool. Seller waltzes and sure, he's got a relic worth at least $500. The old man barely flinches. It's an interesting piece, sure, but there's a harsh truth. Just because it's old doesn't mean it's valuable. He points out that history lovers might like it, but it's not exactly flying off the shelves. Seller clings to hope and tries to counter with $400. The old man stays cold. He offers a measly $100. The seller, shocked, tries to bargain up. No dice, he walks out, photo still in hand. Lesson learned. Sentimental value doesn't translate to dollar bills in the pawn world. Nothing gets the old man's attention like a Civil War-era gun. Enter the Savage Navy revolver. It's a funky-looking firearm, and the seller knows it's rare. He starts high, $1,800. Old man isn't biting. He calls in a gun expert who confirms it's legit, but explains why it wasn't exactly a hot seller back in the day. The gun was heavy, awkward, not the most practical, but collectors love weird history. Value maybe $2,000 tops. The seller still dreams of a big payday, but the old man isn't here to overpay. He throws out an offer, $800. The seller practically chokes. $800? Rick, no, that's not going to happen. No, I'm thinking more like $1,250, though I really am. I was hoping to get about $1,800 for. The gun. They go back and forth, dancing around numbers, but in the end, the old man sticks to his guns. The deal closes at $1,400. Not a bad take for the seller, but the old man still walked away winning. A signed baseball from a 1951 Yankees team sounds like a dream for sports collectors. The seller's got a ball signed by legends like Mickey Mantle and Joe DiMaggio. Sounds great until you look at it. It's worn out, signatures fading, no authentication paperwork. The old man knows better than to take risks on sports memorabilia. He brings in an expert who confirms it's legit, but in rough shape. High value? Nope. The seller, hoping for $3,000, gets hit with reality. The old man offers $800, explaining that condition is everything. The seller, crushed, walks out still holding the ball. No deal here. Cue the nostalgia. A super fan enters the shop with a homemade Ghostbusters proton pack. It's got lights, buttons, sound effects, the whole deal. The old man, not impressed. He knows nerd collectibles have a market, but only for the right buyer. The seller, confident he's built something special, asks for $2,000. The old man scoffs, replica or not. It's not a screen-used prop, and nerds tend to build their own instead of buying. He offers $1,000 firm. The seller hesitates, but eventually takes it. He might have spent more than that building it, but now he's got cash for his next project. You want to go watch Ghostbusters? Hell no. You get your ass back to work. I wish I could have got a little bit more money than $1,500. I had probably that much in it, but now I got some money and a 6-foot-tall wooden Indian statue. Now that's an eye-catcher. The seller has nostalgia tied to it. It used to sit outside his grandfather's tobacco shop, but sentimental value doesn't pay the bills, so he's hoping to cash in. Old man checks it out. Good shape, hand-carved, but let's be real. How many people are out there looking for a giant wooden statue? Seller wants $900. Old man laughs. He throws out $400. The seller fights for $600, but the old man stands firm. If he can't flip it for a profit, there's no deal. Seller caves, $400 it is. The old man wins again. Some days the shop felt more like an art gallery. Big names, big hopes, and the fine line between fortune and disappointment. Not all art is priceless. A guy walked in with what he claimed was a Picasso ceramic owl vase, looking to turn it into some serious cash. This was not just any run-of-the-mill vase. It was crafted by Picasso himself back in the 1940s or 1950s, part of a limited edition of 500. Now, limited edition sounds fancy, but Picasso made tons of these owls, each batch stamped, numbered, and sent off to the masses. Back then, no one expected them to be valuable, but fast forward a few decades, and now they're worth big bucks. Or at least that is what the seller was hoping. The owner had this vase sitting in his home for over 35 years, but with some downsizing happening, he figured it was time to cash in. He walked in hoping for $35,000. Bold move. Of course, Rick from the pawn shop was not going to just take his word for it. He brought in an expert to take a closer look. This art pro knew his stuff. He confirmed it was legit, pointing out the key details: right stamps, correct markings, and pristine condition. That last part is crucial. Condition can make or break a deal. Some of these vases have chips, cracks, or fading, but this one, it was as fresh as the day Picasso made it. Then came the pricing bombshell. Sure, some sellers list these vases for $61,000 online, but that is just wishful thinking. Realistically, this piece could bring in $25,000 at best. That is a lot less than the seller wanted, but in the pawn world, reality hits hard. Negotiations began. Rick threw out $15,000. Chad says it's real, and what he said about going online and looking at prices is true. With everything, people can ask all day long. It's what they get in the end that's important. How you 15 grand for it? No, it's not going to make it. The seller was not having it. They went back and forth, haggling like a couple of poker players trying to call each other's bluff. In the end, $17,700 was the magic number. Not bad for a vase that was collecting dust for decades. Now, just when you think you have seen it all, another Picasso item pops up, this time a framed print from the 1950s. It was called Goat Skull. On table, part of a run of 150. The owner had it appraised years ago for almost $19,500 and figured $16,000 was a fair price. The pawn shop crew was not about to drop that kind of money without checking in with their own expert. Turns out it was an aquatint etching, a fancy way of saying it looked like a watercolor but was not hand-painted. Valuable, yes, but was it worth $16,000? Not quite. After a quick call to the boss, the highest offer was $1,000. The seller hesitated, but ultimately took the deal. Another Picasso changed hands, and the pawn shop added another expensive piece to its collection. Then came a real wild card: 6 Picasso etchings from a limited edition book. The seller wanted $5,000 for them, banking on the fact that anything with Picasso's name would sell like hotcakes. But here's the catch. While Picasso is one of the biggest names in art, not everything he touched turns into gold. Some of his pieces go for millions, while others barely crack a few $100s. The experts showed up and confirmed that these were real, part of a special collection of Picasso illustrations for a book called Lysistrata. The best part? The book was signed by Picasso himself. That bumped up the value big time. Retail price for the whole thing could hit $10,000, but breaking it up into individual pages might bring in even more cash. Rick was not about to throw down $5,000 without negotiating. The seller pushed for $6,000, and after some back and forth, Rick bit $6,000 it was. Another said Picasso found a new home. Here we go. We got a deal, and I'll shake your hand. You know the procedure. We go do some paperwork. I'm settling on $6,000. That's $1,000 more than I even thought I could get out of the book, so I'm taking it. But the Picasso parade was not over yet. Another seller strolled in with what he called a Picasso print from the 1968 Los Celestine collection. Problem: no paperwork. In the art world, missing documentation is like trying to sell a car without a title. It raises all kinds of red flags. Rick took it to his go-to art dealer for verification. After checking the paper quality, the plate marks, and the overall condition, the expert gave the green light. It was real, but not exactly a jackpot. Picasso made a lot of these, and without his signature, it was not worth nearly as much as some might think. The market value? Somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000. The seller had a reality check moment when he realized his family paid $9,000 for it on a cruise ship back in the day. Cruise ship auctions tend to inflate prices, and this was proof. Rick threw out an offer of $1,500, and after some reluctance, the seller took the cash. Just when you think the shop had seen enough Picasso for one day, another seller walked in with 2 Picasso etchings. One was a dove drawing, and the other was a piece called Poor Roby. Picasso made thousands of these, but some were worth more than others. The art expert took a look and confirmed that while they were legit, they were not exactly rare gems. The dove print was a mass-produced lithograph worth maybe $200 on a good day. Poor Roby was the better of the two, an early edition printed on high-quality paper. The expert estimated it could sell for somewhere between $800 and $1,500 in a gallery setting. The seller originally wanted $1,000 for both, but Rick was not about to overpay. He passed on the dove and offered $650 for Poor Roby. The seller took the deal, knowing it was better to walk out with cash than wait around hoping for more. Was Rick's negotiation a savvy business move, or did he lowball the seller unfairly? Let us know in the comments. Like and subscribe for more intriguing